What is up guys, Greedy Knight here breaking down the Guiding Lands. I'll be going over the optimal strategies on what you need to farm in order to get the augments for your gear. Let's get into it. The main focus of the Guiding Lands is to get the final upgrades for your gear through augments and custom upgrades. These are incremental boosts and are purely to min-max your damage output, but there are some functional upgrades like health, regen, / lifesteal that are worth getting regardless of weapon type. I've discussed the quote-unquote meta of augments in a previous video, so I will skip that topic in this video and just link it down below. The only way to increase the level of an area is to interact with monsters. Using traps, collecting tracks, performing part breaks, and successful hunts will raise the progression bar of the monster's respective area. As you level up the area, better nodes and tempered monsters will appear, which will drop higher tier materials for augments. Level 4 is when tempered monsters appear, level 5 is when elders appear, level 6 is primarily tempered and elder spawns, and level 7 is when tempered elder dragon spawn. Progressing one area will decrease others. Lastly, once you hit level 7 in an area, you get a pendant as a reward. You will primarily stockpile lures for when you are aiming for augment materials to speed up the farming process. To obtain lures, you will fill up progression bar in the top right corner. By interacting with the target monster type, you can summon them to the Guiding Lands via the handler. You also craft them at the melder using Guiding Land materials. This is a crucial mechanic to get the monsters and more importantly the materials you need for upgrades. The usual break, hunt, trap, and cap rules apply to the quota monster, so show it no mercy to get your lures. For gathering and leveling, you can reuse the Fatalis set but swap it out for a full gathering loadout, provided you have the decorations to do so. Your alternative is to run the Guiding Lands armor set. This will max out your gathering capabilities for all of the many nodes you will have to farm at. Your item loadout should be filled with one Farcaster, one of each trap, 2 trap tools with materials for shock traps and pitfall traps. Set up your botanist to farm for respective materials. Use the Ghillie Mantle to avoid combat if the monster gains aggro. To optimize experience gain, you set your Palico to the shock trap tool if you are running solo for the 5th trap use and 25 experience. Otherwise you should farm with friends so you can take turns trapping and reloading without interruptions. You need to max out an area to get all of the high tier mats, so we are using the trap method. Hunting monsters will produce 3 times the level of the area for a maximum of 21 experience, plus any part breaks you perform during the fight. This is a bit slow, especially if you are trying to hunt higher difficulty monsters and taking more than 5 minutes for a hunt. Tracks give 15, but you rely on the monster to move in order to collect them. Meanwhile, traps give you 25 per use, and you can use it when you want, making it the best method to level grind when paired with passively collecting traps. Just don't use it on elder dragons. The fastest method is to use a trap, craft another trap while you wait for the monster to break out, rinse and repeat until you run out, Farcaster back to camp to reload. If you could get a monster close to a base camp, it'll reduce your travel time in between reloads, especially if you are doing this in a group. You get 100 experience per trap loop, 125 if your Palico uses their trap. You need 10,000 experience for each level, but each level has an experience modifier. Level 1 gives times 12, level 2 through 6 gives times 8, and level 7 gives times 4. Effectively, you get 1200 per loop at level 1, 800 at level 2 through 6, and 400 at level 7. Level 1 requires 9 trap loops to level up, level 2 through 6 requires 13 trap loops, and level 7 requires 25 trap loops to hit the hidden experience cap. With the full lobby, you get 400 experience per trap loop without any breaks in between. You need 3 squad loops at level 1, 4 squad loops at level 2 through 6, and 7 squad loops for level 7. Notice how this is roughly a fourth of what you need for one person. Once you max out an area, you can lock your areas and farm the materials you need. Then move on to the next area so you don't have to deal with any decreases while you farm for materials. I've compiled a list of everything you need for the quote-unquote meta augments for Charge Blade and similar weapons. I will be using the health augment because it is the comfier option and there is a minimal increase if you go for higher attack and element. This will be linked down below, so review it after the video is done. Under the green totals, you can find the full amounts of each material needed to get every augment and custom upgrade for the Kajar weapons and Fatalis weapons. Note that weapons like Elytron and Fierce Ragjan do not have custom upgrades, so you would only need to farm for 3 weapons worth of custom upgrades. If you only care about the quote-unquote raw meta, then maxing out Fatalis is your best bet. The orange totals tab is just for the Fatalis weapon, so you need just one set of upgrades for the quote-unquote raw meta. For weapons like Charge Blade and Dual Blades, you invest in Element for Element/Element File weapons, and Raw for everything else. You farm times 6 if you want a complete set of meta weapons for each element and for raw weapons. Generally, maxing out the Fatalis weapon first will give you a high damage weapon until you could get your element weapons fully upgrade, and then you want to prioritize Ice for endgame fights and Dragon for Fatalis. Then you augment Water so that you could fight Teostra. Fire has a slightly higher priority if you plan to attack Elytron's event quest, otherwise it's in the same boat as Thunder. Here are the optimal routes for each area. For optimal gathering paths, you want to run along the walls. Nodes do not spawn in the middle of an area, always by a wall of the map. You will have to loop this route until you get the needed amount of materials. Every time your pouch fills, you return to camp to unload, and then continue farming. It's most efficient to do all of an area's node farming at once, so you don't have to go back for a crystal or something like a bone. For combat and monster material farming, use the progression set builds, either Safi Jiva or Fatalis armor, depending on where you are at in the progression. Your item loadout should be the usual healing kit with Temporal Mantle and Rocksteady. You need to hunt a lot of monsters, so opting for max DPS enables you to blow through farming as quickly as possible. I've listed the areas and targets in the sheet so you can take out all the nodes and monsters that spawn in the same area to mitigate backtracking to that area. Of the Elder Dragons, Ruiner Nergigante is probably the most valuable for your augments because he provides augment drops and Great Spirit Vein gems so that you can cross off 2 things off of your shopping list with 1 monster. In the Guiding Lands, there is a hidden level cap mechanic. By default, you have 3 max level areas, 1 level 4 area, and 2 level 1 areas. Each time you hunt a monster, you gain Guiding Lands experience to increase your level cap by 1. You gain the same 3 experience times the area level for a max of 21 experience per monster. You need 10,000 to raise the cap by 1, i.e. 3 level 7 areas, 1 level 5 area, and 2 level 1 areas. You need to hunt 476 monsters to raise the cap by 1. To play around the Guiding Lands level cap for augment farming, you need to reset at least a max level area to level 1, so you can level up the next area you need materials from. It will be a drag that you have to re-level an area, but until you lift the monstrous cap, this is the main solution to getting what you need from Guiding Lands without hunting the 476 monsters for that raised cap level. Naturally, you can max out all areas to level 7, but you need 150,000 experience to max out the cap for each area, requiring 7,143 monsters hunted in the Guiding Lands. This is not remotely required for augments or any guild cards, it's only for the completionists who want everything maxed out, even if it doesn't have an achievement attached to it. This is similar to looking for Godments and Risebreak, so test your sanity against 7,200 monsters at your own risk. I pulled a lot of the information from the Steam community, Reddit, and the various wikis, so take the exact numbers with a grain of salt. These are just the quote-unquote agreed upon numbers based on data miners and various guides that I have reviewed. Comment your thoughts and or corrections down below. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. That's all I got for this one. Greedy Knight, signing out.